I'm in the process of doing a basement remodel. Have a lot of drywall to do, a lot of joints to tape. You can tape up the joints with the ladder, but it's just extremely time consuming. It's tedious, it's more tiring. So a much better way to go if you have a lot of drywall to tape or you have some repairs to do, you're hanging ceilings, get yourself one of these, a Baker scaffold. I bought this one from Home Depot. I paid $220. It was on sale. It normally retails for $298. The model number is I-CISCH1. The SKU number is 100-252-1926. And this is made by Medaltech. So the purpose of today's video, I'm gonna unbox this, take this down in the basement, and let's do a review of this unit because I was thinking about buying a cheaper one from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight does sell a Baker scaffold for about $20 cheaper. But I was looking at the reviews on the Harbor Freight website and it just didn't seem like the reviews were as good as the Home Depot one. I think this is kind of going to be like a mid-quality Baker scaffold. It's not like a commercial professional grade Baker scaffold, but you absolutely could use this for commercial work. So I'm expecting mid-grade quality here. So it is OSHA compliant, ANSI compliant, and CSA compliant. All right, first thing I recommend with something like this, before you completely take it out of the packaging, go over it. Make sure you don't see any damage from shipping, especially while it's still in the main box, because it's really easy to bundle this sucker up right now if there's any damage or if anything's bent. Ask me how I know. I made that mistake before. But overall, everything looks as good as it was when it left from the factory. The welds look good. I'm not seeing any porosity, no undercut with the weld. Well, a little bit of undercut right there, but not terrible. I think it's acceptable. Finish looks good, so let's take it inside and assemble it. All right, so I have everything down the stairs now, and it took me technically it took me 4 trips, but if I had the wheels on these ladders, it would have took me 3 trips. I just want to talk about my experience a little bit. So I used to do commercial construction in the city and around the 5 boroughs. I did that for probably about 6 years. I'm kind of out of it now, but just I can tell the difference between a mediocre Baker scaffold and a high quality Baker scaffold. So we're going to get into it in a moment here, but to assemble a Baker scaffold, what you want to do, put up one ladder against the wall, and then there are normally some type of spring-loaded locking pins. So what you do, take your cross member, squeeze the trigger for this type of Baker. So you're just going to pull the spring-loaded clips in, line it up on the rail, let go of your spring-loaded latch, slide down until you hear the pin or pins lock. Now, on some scaffolds, you're only going to have 1 pin. On this, it has 2 locks, which I think that's kind of a safety feature. I think that's kind of a good thing. So what I'm going to do now, just because the camera's in that one spot, I'm going to take this and spin it, but this isn't traditionally how I would do this. So after you get one side hooked up, you go to the other side. Same thing, pull the spring-loaded locking pin, fit it in the rail. I'm checking on the other side to make sure that we align this at the same height. So this square should be just a little bit above this ladder rung. Right there. Now from here, once you have 3 sides assembled, you take your final cross member. Same thing, pull the spring-loaded clip, start at one side. And actually went right into place that's locked in, ensuring that we're at the same height. Do the same thing over here. Same thing, those pins locked right in. So first thing I'm noticing, these pins, they definitely have more play than the professional Bakers that I've used in the city. So there's a little bit of play right there. Now, finally what we need to do is we need to take our platform and put it up on here. Which this is actually one thing I like about this Baker. Well, I like it and I don't like it. This platform is definitely heavier than the traditional plywood plank that goes on top of the Baker. Traditionally, you have like a plywood plank, but on the long edges of that plank, there'll be a piece of metal. just to make sure that it fits in here properly and the plywood edges don't wear down as quickly. But with this is about 1.5 times heavier, and there's a lot of steel on the bottom. So I can pretty safely say off the bat, although this is 1.5 times heavier, it seems like it's definitely going to be a lot stronger than your traditional bakers. Alright, so after that goes into place, there's 2 safety tabs that you got to look for, and there's one on either side. I'll bring the camera a little bit closer. So if you look right here, this is a safety tab, and what you do, you just spring load it, you push this up, twist it. That doesn't work out too well, does it now? Push it up. Yeah, well, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's, you gotta make sure you push it down. Craftsmanship on that component is definitely not the best. So we'll go around to the other side and do the other safety clip. But these safety clips are here for the purpose of ensuring that this platform doesn't pop up and kick off. It's happened, I've seen, well, I haven't seen it happen, but I've heard it happen quite a few times where this platform will give way or the platform will jump off and kick off to the side. Once the scaffold started getting old, what we actually did, we took a self-tapping screw and we just run it through all 4 corners of the main scaffolding on the scaffolds I worked with in the city, just to ensure that this platform wouldn't kick out. So we have the platform in place right now. Now, what is this? This is plywood. You can see the layers of plywood right there. And it has, I wouldn't call it, it's almost like a fine sandpaper texture, even though you probably can see that there's little squares here. To me, this feels kind of like a piece of probably 100 grit sandpaper that has been used. That's kind of what it feels like. So it's definitely gives you a little bit of grip. Now, one of the cool things about this is there's actually a little hatch door right here. So the idea is that, I guess, if you stack multiple scaffolds on top of one another, of course, make sure you buy the stabilizer legs. But if I go underneath here, there's a little latch. I pull this latch, I can climb up the ladder, go on top of the scaffold, and then this latch will close. You can hear it latch. And that's just a safer way, I think, to climb up on the platform. Of course, I think if you go over 6 feet in height, then you need to have rails. Always make sure you check your OSHA requirements, but we're just doing a review of this unit. So before I actually get up on this platform, I want to make sure that I put the casters on. Now, taking a look at the casters, they're definitely cheaper casters than what you'd get on like a $600 baker. Solid plastic wheels. I'm trying to see if there's a bearing. I don't know. I believe there is a bearing inside the wheel itself. Of course, you have ball bearings right here for the swivel. Just a little bit of play, which that's fine. Ball bearings, they're pretty smooth. Of course, if they get gummed up with shmoo, obviously they're not going to work as well. But the quality of these casters is definitely on the cheaper side. I mean, it's kind of like stamped and folded steel. Also, with these casters, in order to keep them locked in the ladders, you got to use one of these locking pins, which is good and bad. Normally on the professional grade bakers that I use, they have like a little snap ring that kind of locks up in the rail, which those work great while they work, but over time, as you take those casters in and out, and that snap ring kind of wears down, when you go to move this scaffold from one room to another room, or you're lifting it up over a door frame or a piece of track or something, oftentimes those casters will fall right out. So that is the disadvantage of those style of casters. Whoa, that could have been very bad, huh? All right, be careful when you're installing the casters. May have been a better idea to install the casters before I put this actually together. So, all right, I do want to do my final review, but before I do that, I want to make sure I can get up on this platform and feel how solid it actually is. So I want to talk now about how to adjust this platform. What you do, you go to the side that you want to start off with first. There are safety pins that we're supposed to install here, but I don't have them in right now because I'm trying to set the platform height to where I think it needs to be. So if you remove those safety pins, which are the same pins used to lock in the casters, take one hand on either side, push in these spring-loaded release pins while holding on to this circular piece of tubing. Get ready to catch it. And what you're going to do, you're just going to slide this down where you think the height should be. I know this side isn't locked in. Now it's locked in. Make sure both pins are locked in. So I'm at 1, 2, 3. I'm on the third rung. I'm going to go around to the other side. Do the same exact procedure. Third rung right here. Both pins locked in. Visually confirming that. All right. I actually want to go a little bit lower, so let me drop this a little bit lower. All right, I have the platform adjusted at the proper height. Now I'm going to take these safety pins, and if you look in the cross member, there's 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. On the third hole, the bottom hole, take your safety pins, put it through the rail, and lock it in. So this is just a secondary backup to the main locking pin, just for added safety. And it's a good idea to install these as where the thin spring-loaded side is on the inside. If it were facing the outside, it could get caught on something, and you don't want to screw up those pins. So let me do this on the other side. All right, so now let me finally climb up on this platform. I'll use this trap door and test this out. Well, let's go up here and give this an actual test. So there is a nylon strap that prevents this from overthrowing itself, damaging the hinge. So I guess you would climb up here like this, stand on the platform. Now there's no shock or anything, so if you slam this, it'll just slam back down. But how does it feel up here? I've got my ceiling in the, or my head in the ceiling. So it feels okay. Let's see if I can swing myself around. The brand new casters work out really well. Now you are really supposed to lock down the casters whenever you're at a stationary platform, but most of the time people don't do that. It feels pretty reasonable for what it is. When I step down on the platform, it almost feels like it sinks down just a little bit. But I gotta say, I do like that this platform does have the steel supports underneath the platform, especially because this side opens up. So, what do I think of this? Well, here's my thoughts. I think the platform is pretty darn good. It's definitely 1.5 times heavier than a conventional Baker work platform. I feel like there's no chance of it giving way because we have that steel. There's steel rails and there's also steel support members. And you also have these crappy spring-loaded clips, safety clips. So I feel very safe standing on the platform. How is the wobble compared to a professional Baker scaffold? Well, it's honestly pretty close. What I will say though, these cross members, that one's actually not too bad. So this cross member has maybe like, I don't know, like a 1/16 inch of play in it, up and down play, as where the one on the other side, it's more like an 1/8 inch. The in and out play, I mean, it does rock just a little bit, but I mean, the thing with manufacturing, if you're looking for exact tolerances, if you're trying to get components machined perfectly as to where they fit extremely well together, well, that gets expensive, and then of course the price point of the product goes up. So you got to keep that in mind when you're taking a look at this. So I don't know. I think it's exactly what I expected. It's a kind of medium grade Baker scaffold. I think it's great for anybody doing a home remodel project. If you're a painter, I think this is excellent for painters. great for doing drywall. You can use it for commercial work, absolutely. I just think it's worth it to spend the extra money on a higher quality scaffold if you're doing commercial construction. You're going to get better quality casters, you're going to get better fitment, the rock is going to be a little bit less. I do have to say though, I definitely like this platform a bit more than the professional grade Baker scaffolds. I gotta say though, it feels pretty darn solid. Pretty darn solid. And the rock, I mean, you probably can see that on camera. A little bit of play. But honestly, for something like this, you get what you pay for. It's gonna serve its job really well. It's gonna meet my needs. It's gonna allow me to finish this drywall job, get up nice and high. And this is just 1,000 times easier than trying to tape while up on a ladder. So I think it's a good investment. I think you gotta use it for its intended purpose, understand its limitations, but overall, I think it's a good purchase and I think I would buy it again in a heartbeat.